Ukraine has developed a technology to convert light aircraft into bomber drones capable of flying deep into Russia and dropping bombs. The operations of these bombers were described in the Babel media outlet, whose journalists visited a unit that works with such aircraft. The idea of converting light aircraft came in 2023 from a former businessman and now a member of the Defense Forces with the call sign Horynych. According to military media outlet, his group, which is part of the 14th Regiment of the Unmanned Systems Forces, has already conducted 78 successful missions out of 102 in total. The bomber drones are targeting factories and arsenals and disrupting the Russian oil and gas industry. Before departure, the aircraft are equipped with an OFAB 100-120 high explosive bomb, 2 120mm mines and a thermobaric munition. The drone first drops the bomb and mines, then rams the target itself and detonates the thermobaric munition, which sets buildings on fire and destroys the aircraft's secret system. In 2024, Sky Ranger Ninja 912S and Aeropract A-22 light aircraft were spotted flying over Russia, hitting various targets, including the Bucha facility where Shahed drones are assembled. An additional fuel tank and batteries are installed in the cockpit instead of the pilot's seat, which power navigation and communication systems. A team of engineers and pilots ensured that the aircraft could take off, fly through satellite signal jamming zones, hide from air defense, hit a target with coordinates accurate to a meter, return and land autonomously, or ram an object. During development, the main problem was communication between the aircraft and the control center. Militani says the Horynich's autopilot could perform the mission even without communication using an inertial navigation system. However, the inertial system inevitably accumulates errors and the aircraft goes off course. Communication with the aircraft is necessary for the autopilot to receive the correct coordinates and get back on track. The idea to equip the aircraft with a satellite communication system was suggested by the commander of one of the advanced drone units who arrived to test the bomber. In addition, the Horynych engineers strengthened the aircraft's supporting structure and finalized the software. The planes are brought to the airfield, disassembled and assembled near the airport. They are refueled, brought to the runway, and detonators are installed. The navigator from the mobile command post downloads the mission to the aircraft's autopilot via a radio modem. On the night of October the 5th to the 6th, the Ukrainian unmanned bomber Horynych flew the final part of its mission. The route was over Zelenski, an industrial satellite city of Nizhny Novgorod. The bomber entered from the east and flew over the city center to its western edge. The target was the Yakov Sverdlov plant, part of the Rostec Corporation. Nearly 5,000 workers at this plant produce explosives and fill them into high-explosive aerial bombs for Russian frontline aviation. When the bomber approached the target at the calculated distance, its flight controller gave the command to drop. 2 120mm artillery mines and the main weapon, an OFAB 100-120 high-explosive aerial fragmentation bomb, were dropped from 3 suspension units under the fuselage. After that, the aircraft made another circle over the target and dived at it in a kamikaze mode. The bomber flew almost 1,000 kilometers to the target. It crossed the front line and the area of Russian anti-aircraft systems. After hitting the ground, the plane's engine stopped. The self-destruct timer started counting down. In 5 minutes, it worked, and the thermobaric munition destroyed the plane and all its secret stuffing. This was only the first bomber from a small squadron. It was followed by the second bomber at intervals of about 10 minutes. Even the most ardent supporters of the war against Ukraine are admitting to the catastrophic state of the Russian occupation army. Z patriots Maxim Kalashnikov and Yuri Yevich, known for their support of the aggression, have openly reported on the massive losses and appalling conditions facing Russian troops. Kalashnikov said he received a letter from a friend fighting at the front. It deeply disturbed the Z patriot. "We have a terrible problem, sanitary problems. For obvious reasons, we can't evacuate our wounded. We're forced to wait for help, sometimes for days, even while wounded. Evacuation is very, very difficult. And they say our sanitary losses aren't 1 to 3, 3 wounded for 1 killed, but almost 1 to 1, Kalashnikov said. According to him, the situation with medical care and evacuation is so dire that the wounded often die without receiving help. Evichi was even more outspoken about sanitary problems. "Earlier, when I was recording broadcasts, I'd scare our listeners, saying, 'The situation is serious, frightening.' But now, I'm calming them down, because the situation is so frightening that if we start telling it like it is, especially with emotion, our listeners will completely lose all logic and the ability to take effective action," he said. These confessions reveal the true state of the Russian army, which the Kremlin is trying to conceal from the public. Data on the occupiers' losses is classified and considered a state secret. However, even among supporters of the war, awareness of the scale of the catastrophe is growing. Another Z-War correspondent, Romanov, lost his temper when he told about the disaster at the front. In an emotional tone, he described the real situation on the front, where Moscow is throwing people to the slaughter, while the Russian Ministry of Defense Command sees no need to hide the monstrous losses. He answered the question of why he wasn't going to the front. He had a qualification in military medicine, but the Russian command will still abandon him to die in a routine assault where he had a 95% chance of dying. The average lifespan of a stormtrooper is 12 days. In hot spots, 1 out of 2 soldiers reaches their position at best. "Do you realize you're screwed tomorrow?" Romanov wrote. His post went viral on social media, sparking a storm of discussion and even shock among some pro-Russian audiences. Essentially, this is a rare public admission. The Russian army is burning out, and mobilized men are being used as a disposable resource. While some are dying, others are being brought in without rest, without training, without purpose. Military bloggers recount his words. Analysts note that such bursts of truth are becoming more frequent when the system of lies is no longer capable of maintaining morale at the front. However, there has been no reaction from the Russian Ministry of Defense. In the comments, the audience shares his thoughts. Meanwhile, experts call these admissions a reflection of the collapse of the Russian military machine. Demoralized soldiers, chaotic orders, endless assaults for the sake of reporting.